Hello, my name is Elizabeth, or you could call me Liz. I work in research, and welcome back to my channel. So usually I'm behind the computer doing a tutorial, but today's video is going to be a little bit different. Today's video is focused on people interested in getting into the research field. So if you're curious about research, trying to get into or break into the field, hopefully this video you'll find helpful. So one of the things that I really like about research is that it gives you the tools to answer almost any questions. And the skills that are required to be successful in research is transferable to almost any industry. So today's video is going to be 5 things that you can do to market yourself to prospective employers as a researcher. So number 1 is research certifications. So the type of certification that is required is highly dependent on the industry that you're going into, but there are some basic ones that you need to have. So for example, in Canada, the Tri-Council Policy Statement on Ethics Involving Human Subjects, say that 5 times fast, so it's otherwise known as the TCPS2, is a basic ethics requirement or basic certification for ethics that every researcher or most researchers are required to have. The GC or ICH Good Clinical Practice, so GCP, is also a good one if you're looking to go into clinical work. I know there's also like a Health Division 5 one for clinical work as well. So definitely do your research into the field that you're going into and the certifications that are required for that is required for that field. And number 2 is having knowledge of and knowing several statistical packages. So when I say having knowledge of, so I mean knowing just generally what these things are, and knowing, so having kind of firsthand practical knowledge of various statistical packages. So I work in social science, and in social science and health, and sometimes mental health as well, we use SPSS. But if SPSS is not accessible to you, Microsoft Excel has some really good functionality in terms of data analysis. So past like descriptives and stuff like that, because Microsoft Excel isn't just for, pivot tables and charts, but you can run t-tests, you can do ANOVAs, you can run regressions in Excel. So try that out. Get your hands on some data, try it out, see if you like it better than SPSS or some of these other kind of like statistical packages. But if you're interested in like a statistical package or platform software, there are a couple that you can look at. So R is free, requires some programming though, FYI. So there's R, there's Excel, like I said, there's SPSS, there's data, and then there's SAS as well. Data and SAS require some amount of programming knowledge. So that's like an FYI before you get into that. And then some qualitative ones that you may want to look at are In Vivo and Maxta. Maxta is, you could use it for qualitative, but it's also a mixed method one. And then there's ArcGIS, which is for geospatial analysis. You don't need to have it, but if you want to flex on your resume, go ahead and throw that in there. That one, you don't need to have it, but it's good to have and it's good to incorporate in a lot of research or specific research projects. And 2B is data visualization tools, so know what they are. So some that come to mind are Tableau and Power BI. So depending on your audience, not everybody wants to see figures and numbers all day. Sometimes people want things presented to them in pretty colors, okay? So that is what essentially data visualization tools do. I know I'm simplifying it, but in essence, that's what they are. So Tableau is a really good one. Power BI is one that I've seen that a lot of employers are actually requiring. And so a really cool way that Power BI is being used in community programs, if you have a client management system, you can actually link the client management or the CRM to Power BI, and then you can get kind of like live feedback on kind of client level demographics, some outcome measures, and just kind of like programming data. So that's how it's being used in that sense, but knowing it would be really helpful and looks really good on your resume as well. Number 3 is mixed methods is where it's at. So I know that sometimes researchers like to stick to either qualitative or quantitative methods, but the real kind of low-key flex, but I'm not calling it flex, is kind of right in between. What knowing just one or the other does, it limits the scope of what you're able to do. So it limits the scope in terms of the projects that you're able to work on, the jobs that you're able to apply to. And then a lot of research or evaluation roles, there is a component of quantitative or qualitative methodology. So really knowing both, so how to design data collection tools, or like both data qualitative and quantitative data collection tools, and knowing how to design qualitative and quantitative projects, as well as mixed methods or quasi-experimental projects, and knowing data analysis in both these research methods is really important. Number 4 is not really intuitive, but it's language. So language is a huge one. Language is how we communicate with one another, and language is how researchers communicate knowledge, right? So if you know another language, put that in your resume. So I live in Canada, and even though in Canada English is widely spoken, almost 20% of the population in Canada still speak French at home. In addition, there are various Francophone countries in Africa, and also a lot of European countries. Primary language is French. So what knowing, for example, a language like French enables you to do is apply to work at places overseas or at organizations and institutions where French is an asset. Or, for example, a province like Quebec, you would need to know how to speak French to work in that province. But it doesn't have to be French. It could be any language at all. Knowing it broadens your speaking opportunities. If you are, like, for example, running a focus group, and the focus group largely knows one language, you can communicate with them as well. So I think language really, really broadens your scope and the things that you're able to do. 4B underneath language is, so different fields or industries have different ways of talking about the same thing. So I know that, for example, psychology and the medical field have a very specific way of talking about health issues that a field like, for example, social work doesn't do. So social work tends to be more person-centered approaches or person-centered language, where medical and sometimes psychology fields don't speak that way. So definitely knowing the language that your preferred industry speaks, learning it, using it in your resume, using it in the interview will definitely help you go a long way. And then the last thing is you. So you bring a unique set of skills to the table, your experiences, your ideas, your job history, your education, all that make you unique and valuable to a prospective employer.
What I do have are a very particular set of skills.
So really take a look at your resume, take a look at your skills, and see how best that you can market it to an employer. So for example, if you've worked in various research fields, sometimes some people may see that as I don't want to say a red flag, but sometimes the employers might have a hard time drawing those links across kind of your job history. So if you've worked in research at a hospital, for example, and then you're trying to transition from research at a hospital to research in community programs or social work. And one worry might be, do you know the language? Are your practices trauma informed? All those type of things, right? So knowing how to, for example, say that, oh yeah, in the hospital we did blah, 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 and this is how it can be used in this setting. So really kind of making those obvious to employers and making your unique skills, experiences, obvious to employers as a value added asset would be helpful. So those are the 5 things. I hope they're helpful. And if you have any other tips or anything else that you would recommend, put that in the comment section, and I will see you in another video. Bye.